So this game follows the story pretty well. Like they kind of shoehorn in this game at certain points, like the Kira game, and I'll explain how they do that in the context of the story. Whosoever you write a name of in this note shall die. Yagami Light was given this death note, and he will use it to purge the world of sin. He will be the god of the new world. As I thought, humans are so interesting. Also, I'm still a little bit congested today. Nothing I can do about that, but at least I'm feeling good enough to stream. So yeah, the world now knows of an entity that is killing criminals called Kira. And there's another entity opposing Kira by the name of L. He used the trick by putting Lind L. Taylor, that Kira fell for completely. So they've assembled a task force to try and figure out who Kira actually is. Everyone has decided to put their faith in L. And this is Watari. And this is L. Watashi wa L desu. But he wants to be called Ryuza while they are working on the team. He also wants Yagami Soichiro's son on the team by the name of Light. But little does he know that Light is actually Kira. Death Note, Kira game. Minasan, kite kudasai. Everyone listen up. Light is Kira. Huh? I am L. Yuzaki, I'm not Kira. Yuzaki, you must be Kira. What's going on? Light-kun, won't you please explain? Is Light really Kira? I believe in Yuzaki. Well then, now that was the game. Basically they're playing a... Yeah, basically they were playing a simulation game to figure out like the best way to find out who Kira actually was. And that's called the Kira game. Why did you suspect me, Duzaki? Intuition. Okay, so now they're going to explain how the Kira game works. It's basically a game of trying to figure out, like, nobody knows who anyone else is, and your goal is to figure out who's Kira if you're L, and who's L if you're Kira. And Matsuda, I think his name is, he didn't know that they were playing a game. So they're explaining it to him now. Yeah, he's explaining what I just explained to you guys. Also, there is a entity that seeks to, like a person who seeks to support Kira, like the Kira supporter. And you find out who Kira and L are by asking them questions and seeing their responses, and by raising your suspicion and trust meters with everyone, basically. Okay, and if any of you tried to play this game, you probably got hung up here, because it's all in Japanese and you probably didn't know what was what. So let me just... I think it does walk you through here, but you still do need to know a bit of Japanese in order to understand it. Okay, so right here we have a bubble. This is the kanji for suspicion, and you see an up arrow here. So if I drag this onto onto Duzaki, if I succeed in my suspicions, then his suspicion gauge towards everyone will go up. And by doing that, I lower my proposal points, my proposal power, by 20 points, because if you see here, that speech bubble was labeled with -20, so I lost 20 out of my currently 100. There can be more, but like out of my 100 proposal points. Everyone got that? Here we go. Okay, so now we're explaining suspicion. Right here is the suspicion gauge, which shows how much everyone suspects your player character. Yeah. And people can suspect you, or like raise or lower your suspicion with those bubbles that we just talked about. They all have the same bubbles in proposal point meters as well, although we can't see them. Okay, so now I just heavily suspected Ryuzaki, which took up 40 proposal points, which got taken away from my gauge down here. And as you can see, there's a little checkbox that appeared over Ryuzaki just now. That's basically the substitute of this gauge. Like, we don't, for other people's suspicion, we can't see their gauge specifically. All we have to go on is these little checks. Once their suspicion gauge reaches the yellow bar right here, then that means that they get 1 check. And once it reaches the red bar right here, that means they get 2 checks. We can't see for sure when their suspicion meter is maxed out, but it's somewhere after they get 2 checks. Yeah, they're called suspicion marks. Okay. All right. And I believe now we're talking about trust. Yeah, all these gauges up here are how it's kind of backwards from what you might think, but this is how much the players trust you. Like the bottom is that they don't trust you at all, and the top is that they trust you completely. It's from a scale from 0 to 100, and we can see the trust points, obviously, trust gauge. So if we drag this over here, Ryuzaki's trust towards us increases by a lot because we went up, like we increased his trust by 2 up arrows, and at the same time, like it's kind of blocked right now, but we also lowered his suspicion by 2 down arrows. And that, like, if we could see the gauge, it would lower by like I don't know, that much or something. Okay, now here's what happens if somebody else uses those proposal bubbles, I guess, on us. Like, or someone else. Basically, when it's not our turn and somebody makes a proposal. Okay, so Ryuzaki L has just said that there is absolutely no chance that Yagami-san could possibly be Kira. And we just agreed with that. That takes up 20 proposal points, like it just got blocked off. But if you agree, it takes up 20 proposal points, and the proposal goes through. Like, in that case, like, my suspicion would go down because he believed me of kind of suspicion. Okay, so now he's accusing Matsuda-san of being Kira. And so, let's say that I want to disagree with that. I'd click here, and I would disagree with it. I'd shoot it down, and that also takes 20 proposal points. But someone else, if they want to, can interject. and make a counter argument after someone disagrees. And it basically turns into a bidding war at this point. Like, you don't lose these 10 points just yet, until you actually, your side wins, basically. And if he wanted to, he could go right back at you and bid more proposal points, I guess, like 5 more, like he would bid 15 in total. We'll have to see that in action. It's kind of hard to explain right now. And I believe this is the last part of the tutorial. These are all like special maneuvers that you can do. Right here brings everyone's suspicion up by a bit, which is kind of useful when you're Kira. And this brings everyone's suspicion down a little bit, which is kind of useful when you're L. This shuffles around everyone's proposal points to make them equal. And this boosts your own proposal points to the max. And this is your special ability that changes from character to character. And Light's ability is to turn his own suspicion gauge down to 0. And Duzaki's is to make everyone's suspicion go to 50. Some of the abilities are pretty lame, like they're not worth spending 80 proposal points on, you know, but some of them are pretty game-changing. And if you want to, you can pass and not do anything on your turn if you want to conserve proposal points for like another turn, or just like to shoot down someone's proposal. Okay, and here's where everyone votes. Like, after enough turns have gone by of everyone making their proposals and stuff, everyone gets to vote who they think is Kira, or at least who should be locked up. And you can't vote for no one. And it goes by, let's see, absolute majority, I think it's called, where unless, like, right here we have 6 people. Like, let's say that, like, 3 people vote one way, 2 people vote another way, and 1 person votes a third way. That doesn't work. You need the majority of people to vote one way in order to convict someone. Like, even if it's like 2-1-1-1-1, then that's like a no lynch, I guess, in Mafia terms. But if 4 people vote one way, then that clinches the vote in this scenario. Or it might be 3, I'm not sure. I don't know what the even numbers. I think it's 4 though. Okay, and now we're explaining the special things that go with being L and Kira. So L's goal is to convict Kira. So he wants to figure out who Kita is and kind of make everyone's suspicion go in the direction of the person who he thinks is Kita, so that he can imprison them at the vote. On the other hand, Kira's goal is just to figure out who L is. And he doesn't have to win by majority. He can just use his death note after the voting takes place and kill someone on his own. However, if L misses, if L does not succeed in imprisoning the right person, or if Kita does not succeed in killing the right person, then their max proposal points down here get cut in half. So if that's also another way to tell, if someone was really talkative the first day, and all of a sudden they're kind of quiet the second day, and there was a kill or a imprisonment the previous day, then you can kind of work out through that they are one of the power roles. That's another way to tell. Okay, and here's something that L can do. Oh no, it's something that both people can do. But it's different. Basically, when you're L, when you at the end of the turn after the voting has taken place, you can use that to suspect someone. To investigate them, basically. It's kind of like the cop role, if you've ever played Mafia. Basically, you figure out, you investigate them and see whether they're Kita or not. And 2 circles means that they definitely are. An X means that they're definitely not. And a circle, I think, means that they could be Kita. And Kita is the same way. If you max out your trust points with someone, they will give you hints as to who they think is L. And that works, that is displayed after the voting takes place, and also during the voting. Again, 2 circles means that they are L, 1 circle means that they could be L, and an X means that they're not L. Of course, if you max out your trust with actually L, then he might give you false information. That's the only risk that you run. Otherwise, it's totally accurate. Okay, so yeah, basically with Kira, you're aiming to quickly max out someone's trust towards you, and then quickly max out someone else's suspicion so that they get imprisoned instead of you. So that, number 1, you can figure out who L is, and number 2, you can get the attention off you. And while you're L, your goal is to kind of watch and listen to see who's kind of doing that, who's trying to butter people up or just cast suspicion onto people, and use that information to cast your own suspicions. It's usually pretty easy to tell against computer opponents, but sometimes it's not. I've been led astray before. Okay, so now we're getting into a game, I believe. Yeah.